lounging, son.
Welcome back to another episode of the Comic Lounge Podcast, guys. I am your host, the mighty Dobot, and with me, as always, the ever so loving, blue-eyed Ryan. We are here today to talk about excellent book, which is perfect because as of recording this, the movie comes out in like a couple of days, and what are we talking about? Of course, we're talking about the mighty Shang Chi, by Luen Yang.
Shang. I can't get down with it. I can't get down with it. Still, it's so hard for me to say that.
It's still weird.
When I say it out loud, I'm like, Ryan, you sound like an idiot. You're saying it wrong. Like in my head, I tell myself that.
But movie, everyone in the movie says Shang, and then apparently his alias in Shang Chi is Sean, which makes sense because the whole Asian immigrant thing. Sometimes
okay.
So sometimes sometimes they use a name, an American name that sounds similar to their actual name to make it less confusing for them. Or sometimes they'll I once had when I was working at the sushi restaurant, I once had a Japanese manager. We called him Steve-san, but his first name was Tsukimoto. So they just called him Steve for some reason. I don't know where that came from, but we called him Steve-san. And he totally responded to it. He spoke barely any English, but he responded to Steve-san. And there's it's just like an Asian thing, right? I mean, I have an Irish name. My name is Dylan, and I was born Dylan. And that's just Filipinos. That's Filipinos. They choose either really strange names because I have like two cousins named Apple. Two
cousins
named Apple, and then I have a list of I have 9 cousins, all from the same mother and father, who are all V's. So it's like Venus, Voltaire, Veronica.
Voltaire, that's a joke name.
Yeah, Voltaire.
That's awesome.
Voltaire, Vita, Ven, not Ben, Ven.
Well, I work with Nick, like Nicholas, right? Yeah. So. I get it.
It's either super Catholic names or super strange names, but as far as the bigger Asian community, it's like there's Korean names that they choose. They I knew a guy named Hwang Ho, but everyone called him James. So Shang and Shang Chi, that makes sense.
I get it. Yeah, it does make sense. Let's read the credits first before we keep talking about names.
Luen Yang.
Yes, is the writer.
Philip Tan as the artist.
No.
Philip Tan. Wait, no.
Philip Tan is a flashback artist. I think it's Dike Ruan. I think is how you say his name. He's the artist. Yeah. The colorist is Sebastian Chang. Letterer is Travis Lanham. And I just had to say, the variant covers, dope as fuck. All of them. I'm sorry, not the variant. The A covers, all prominent Asian artists in the comic book industry. Like really great covers. With Jim Chung being the cover artist and #1, who he's always been a favorite of mine. I just had to shout that out real quick. But
one of my favorites was In-Yuk Lee. I was like for issue 1, that variant, beautiful. He also did that.
Who did a really dope variant for #1? I have to say Kim Jacinto. That shit is fucking dope as fuck. It is probably, in my opinion, I think that should have been the cover to #1 because that shit just pops. But anyways,
Kim Jacinto did a great cover. Let's see, David Nakayama did
that
a really
Phoenix
clean cover.
Yeah. Kari Randolph, the nullified variant,
fantastic cover. Of course, we get the timeless, Alex Ross variant. That was phenomenal.
Just all good.
Yeah,
covers.
I mean, all good covers. All fantastic covers for a fantastic, miniseries. I'm just gonna get right into it. I love this. For those of you who know me, those of you who've been following along know, I'm a big kung fu fanatic. I love kung fu movies, like the old Saturday afternoon kung fu movies that came on. It would sometimes be a double feature, and it'd be like really bad English dubbing, but really cool kung fu flicks, really bad sound effects, like literally like a Wu-Tang album, right? But the movies, and this is reminiscent of that. This has all the things of that. It has family tradition and 5 families or 5 dynasties or 5 houses, fighting, like, not pit against each other, but the rule, who's fighting for the rule to rule the five houses. And it's modernized, obviously, because it's Marvel and it's like set up to date. And this is easily one of my favorite like kung fu series. I mean, it's not firepower, but it's still pretty freaking good, right? Let's just jump right into it. So basically, we get a little origin story to the Five Weapons Society. The Five Weapons Society, which was led by Zheng, which is Shang Chi's father, who everyone believes Shang Chi killed him, right? Apparently not, but I don't know exactly what happened. I'm not.
It took place in Secret Avengers is what they call back on, and I actually just read that, and I still don't see how he. I don't know. It was kind of like ambiguous in terms of the way he was killed. I read it after I read this because I'm like, oh fuck yeah, I've been wanting to read that again, and so he's always kind of been an adversary of his son. You know what I mean? Like Shang-Chi has never followed his father, and I think that them fleshing that out was really interesting. Gene Luen Yang is, I mean, dude, not only is he a fucking phenomenal artist, but his writing is just flawless to me. I think what he's been doing, we talked about not the sequel, but the ongoing that spun out from this miniseries, which basically started, I think, like a month or two between. Like there wasn't a huge gap. And we also talk about Superman Smashes the Klan, and I think that he just perfect writer for this title. Perfect writer. And and the art is just Dike Ruan's art is just I mean, he's awesome. He is fucking awesome. His fucking choreography, his fight scenes, the action, to even, his small moments, like I talk about, small moments are very important to me too. Like he really captures the emotions so well. I think it's just it's a beautiful book. I think that not enough people sub to it. I think they kind of caught on once the ongoing started. That's what I've noticed, especially because the trailer came out for the movie, so the hype was starting to build more so than when the miniseries dropped. But fleshing out his story, introducing him to the five houses, like you mentioned, I thought that was cool to kind of add to the lore.
Yeah. You ever see Five Deadly Venoms?
No.
You got to see Five Deadly Venoms. It's it's like one of my favorite kung fu movies ever. I'm not saying this is like that, but it's kind of like that.
Okay. Real quick, I just want to say, you said Wu-Tang Clan. You got Jizza, RZA, and Bill Murray on your shirt right now.
Yeah, I know. I mean, these are literally my favorite person. I think Bill Murray is I think Bill Murray is like the funniest person on the planet.
He is. Yeah.
And what do you call? And RZA and Jizza. I mean, come on.
I mean, I was staring at Bill and I'm like, who's with him? I'm like, oh shit, that's RZA. That's Jizza. Okay. Yeah. Right. Bill Murray's another member of the Wu-Tang Clan. That makes sense to me.
Yes. He's the 10th member. No, he's the 11th member because they added Redman. Redman's a part of it now, a part of the Wu-Tang Clan now, like just more recently. So he's 10th.
I did not
unofficial.
Know that.
He's the 10th. So Bill Murray's the 11th unofficial member. Like, yeah.
Okay. Anyways, Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, Shang-Chi. Like I said, it has all the makings of a fantastic kung fu movie. Like, what I really like, what I love the most is how, how they talk about how he wants to break free of his father and not so much the teachings, but like, it shows that he was raised in a house and he was basically secluded for most of his life, right? How he finally breaks he's finally in the Western world and he's trying to adapt, trying to become, trying to normalize himself and like, not normalize himself, but like try to go, break away from the tradition and all the teachings that his father like didn't like, just kind of like imprisoned him with, right? Because from what it seems like his dad's a dick. And there's that feeling, there's that overbearing sensory feeling of tiger parents. I don't know if you're familiar with the term, but like like a tiger mom or a tiger dad, where basically like it's Asian parents who have these expectancies of their kids, and they kind of like entrap them in these lives where it's nothing but that, right? It's nothing like, so you hear the stereotype, why don't the Asian mom always wants the Asian kid to be a doctor, so all he does is study, or wants the child to be a famous musician, so all it's study and go play your violin. You have nothing else. You can't have friends, you can't have this, you can't have that. You're just cut off from the world. The only thing that matters is your education. In this case, for Shang-Chi, it's the only thing that matters is your martial arts and becoming the heir to the five houses, right? So as all Asian kids, I mean, my mom wasn't like that. Like, thank God. Like, my mom was just like, just don't get arrested. Just don't get arrested. Just don't. I don't want to pay fines. Just don't get arrested, please. Right? But I know other Asian kids whose mother and father was like that. So I really liked how that was kind of like the overall tone of it. You know what I mean? And it's definitely it's a real cool glimpse into Asian born Americans like having to deal with that kind of tradition, trying to break away from that. And that's pretty freaking cool.
Well, it really felt like a genuine look at Asian culture to me.
Yeah.
Mixed into a superhero martial arts book. Like that's something that I'm not as familiar with. And I'll be honest with you, this was the first Shang-Chi book that I ever picked up.
Same.
I know of the character. I've read him, right, in other stories. But I've never read the old stuff. I never read Master of Kung Fu. I never read even the Max line did with Paul Gulacy. He did a Shang-Chi book too, and I didn't read that. So this really Luen Yang was the draw for me. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, he's got a movie coming out. I should read it. Like, this to me felt very inclusive. Like, anybody could pick this book up. You don't need to have any prior knowledge of this character, and you get everything you need. By the end of this book, you're like, I was a Shang-Chi fan. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I want to read more of this, and it's continuing to be, the ongoing has been really great. I
only read the first issue of the ongoing.
Okay, so
Spider-Man.
I mean, and then he fights Captain America and is in the second one. Wolverine is in the third one.
I love it.
It's great. It's such a great book. It's fun, dude, because like it blends action and humor flawlessly to where it doesn't feel like it's a jokey book, but it makes you laugh. You know what I mean? And the action is just like so standout to me. The art, like I said, it's the choreography and the fight scenes I'm really digging. I guess spoiler, I'm gonna say how this ends real quick because it kind of ties into the ongoing, but he eventually becomes the leader, right, of the Five Society, but he's doing it in a different way. He's taking them down a different path. And that's all I'm going to say. It's not the same path that his father would have envisioned. Now, he fought it. He didn't want to be it, right? And we start to learn about the other houses. There's some siblings. I think what happens to his sister's fucked up, right? But then she becomes...
She
becomes, manipulative, and she's just cunning and cold, right? Like, where he thinks that he's going to get this relationship back. No. That's not the path that it goes down. At first glance, things change. I guess towards the end of the book, but he really, Gene Yang really fleshes out the houses, the family dynamic, and you really get into the mindset of who Shang-Chi is and the type of person that he wants to be. Not the type of hero, but the type of person. And I think that that's very important in superhero comics that sometimes writers miss. Like, you don't really flesh out who they are underneath, the quote-unquote mask. And I get it, that Shang-Chi doesn't wear a mask, and he's not even your traditional superhero. He's not your traditional Avenger. He has been on Avengers teams, like I said, with the Secret Avengers, and he has been in events, but largely he's kind of always been in his own corner. And to see this corner being fleshed out and being given some attention, I get it. It's the movie, right? Like, if the movie wasn't coming out, would we be getting this book? I don't know. But I'm not questioning it because that's kind of what happened. We have it, and it's great. It's kind of like what's happening with Black Widow. Black Widow has had more titles, obviously, than Shang-Chi, but, because of the movies coming out, we get to see these characters that haven't been given the spotlight, getting the spotlight, given some genuinely great talent, and what we get is such a great product. I don't want to, I won't I won't get too into the nitty gritty of exactly what takes place, but this is a great, it's a story about family at the heart of it. You know what I mean? That's what this story is. It's a story about family. You elevator pitch. Shang-Chi learns a little bit about his past, his family, and in turn, it's just a great character piece. With some action thrown in there, but at the heart of it, it's really about him, and it's about what he's gone through in his past and how he's persevered and come from something so, I won't say his dad's super evil, right? But to come from somebody that's not, I wouldn't say heroic, right? And to take that and not follow in the footsteps.
Well, I think with his father, it's he came from heroic. The father came from heroics, because they talk. There's small historical pieces and small flashbacks where they talk about defending China from the outside invaders and all this stuff. So it's the houses were born out of heroics, right?
Right.
But then
they get twisted.
They get twisted because his father ends up living for way longer than a normal human life, and in turn it kind of turns his vision. It skews his vision, right? So in turn, that kind of makes him a shitty father.
Yeah, I mean, power corrupts, right?
Yeah,
ultimate
exactly.
Power corrupts, and that's exactly what happens here.
Right, and then sins of the father, it transfers onto the kids, and then the kids have to suffer for what the father has done and what the father is doing. So it's an excellent family dynamic, but told extremely well. And the art just helps with it, and the flashbacks help with it, and just the action sequences. This is a great comic. There's no reason why anyone should not pick this up. Especially with the movie coming out. I mean, I like you said, with the movie coming out, would we have gotten this kind of team on this title? I don't know. We don't know, but we do, and it's here, and I think people should read it because, I mean, I read the first issue of the new series, and I love it. It's great. Now it really props up. It really props up the new series because what Shang-Chi had to do to get to where he is at that point, right? Mm-hmm. Because his little sister Dagger, that little shit, I love her.
I know, she's awesome, dude. She's awesome.
Sister Dagger is great. She is very uncouth. She holds nothing back, but also at the same time, she there's a level of enough respect for her older brother Hand, which is that's another thing too. I love the names Brother Saber, Sister Dagger, Sister Hammer. I love the names. It's takes the name of the houses, right? Which is pretty freaking cool. And she it takes her 4 issues to finally call Shang-Chi by his name.
I know, she refuses. Yeah, and I think it's the whole point of this one is to find a new leader, right? Because somebody else has died, so there's the vacuum needs to be filled, and Sister Hammer she thinks she should be the leader, but there's that thing with the flame, right? And the flame is basically the flame of Zhengzhou, and it lights up by the Hand, that's Shang-Chi, right? He should be the leader of that house. You just see Brother Saber and Sister Dagger try to convince him, but he doesn't want to do it. And I think that, like I said, the dynamic between all of them is really what I love the most, especially Sister Dagger. And I think that, you didn't read this before reading the first issue, because I think I said, let's read it for the podcast. And the funny thing is you picked that up and you still got enough. Yeah. He still made that first issue give you exactly what you need to be okay, I want to read this series without having read the previous miniseries. Yeah. So then you can go back and read the previous miniseries. It's okay, this is a prequel, right? It doesn't take away from either one of the projects. No. And I think that, again, I've talked about this too, about first issues really drawing you in and giving you everything you need, but still leaving enough to where you want more. And I think that Gene Luen Yang did that with not only with the new series, but also with the miniseries. And there's just so much. I'm so excited to see all the other stuff further fleshed out going forward. Because now Shang-Chi isn't in, by the end of this, he is the leader of the five houses, but it's still considered by most to be an evil organization.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's a hero, and that's what's happening right now, right? Like the current arc.
He's trying to change it.
The current arc is Shang-Chi versus the Marvel Universe. That is the current story arc going on. So he's literally fighting against his fellow heroes. But like the Cap.
Kinda.
Yeah, I know, but not exactly. But the Cap issue, great. The Wolverine issue, phenomenal. Like it really is like it's flying under the radar, I think, in terms of people reading the book. But you guys are missing out if you're not reading this title.
Yeah, I feel like I was missing out now. But I'm like, luckily I read this, so I'm not gonna be missing out. Shang-Chi is great.
Yeah, and I think it's cool to see these characters because Marvel having Marvel Studios, having the faith to take chances on properties that aren't by many considered A-list. And because they make the films, we get the comics.
Yes.
DC, come on, take a page out of Marvel's book. Take
a chance. Stop giving us the Trinity. Not that I don't love the Trinity, but we have enough movies about the Trinity.
Right, and I think that it only props up the comics when we see Guardians of the Galaxy didn't have an ongoing I think it just had started. Right, I think the Bendis run had started when the movie was coming out because I think Iron Man was actually a part of it. But I didn't know who the fuck. I didn't really. I heard of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but I didn't really give a fuck. The vast majority of the public, they never heard of the fucking Guardians of the Galaxy. They didn't know who the fuck Rocket Raccoon was or Groot. And Groot and Rocket Raccoon are household names now.
Yeah.
Black Panther. To me, I always considered him A-list because he's one of the smartest.
Yeah.
Characters in the Marvel Universe. But I think in a lot of people's eyes, you hear Black Panther, you think of the Black Panther Party, right? You don't think of a superhero named Black Panther. So he's become upper echelon, I think, in terms of Marvel Comics, right? Shang-Chi's about to get that same treatment. Yeah. I firmly believe that. I think the movie is going to fucking blow people away. I think the trailers are phenomenal. I think Eternals, who a lot of people don't give really, unless you're a diehard Jack Kirby fan, you don't really give a shit about. That fucking movie's about to fucking blow up, I think.
I think it's about to blow up too, but I'm just neither here nor there with the Eternals. But we'll get into.
Have you read Kieran Gillen's?
I haven't read Kieran. I've only read issue 1. Okay, I've only read issue 1. Right. But I tried reading. I tried reading King Kirby's. I tried reading. I read Neil Gaiman and Ramirez, and how much I love Neil Gaiman.
All right, I liked those. So I haven't read all of Kirby's. Kirby's is definitely those books that came out from that time period are a product of their time, right? Yeah. In terms of the way stuff was dialogued back then, sometimes it's harder to read now. I can still appreciate it for the art, as I'm sure you can too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I think Eternals is gonna fucking that trailer that came out not that long ago.
The last trailer was pretty fucking cool.
That was
last trailer was pretty fucking cool.
I think you need to be. I think people. I'm quick shout out before we get back to Shang-Chi is Kieran Gillen's and Asad Rivich. What they're doing on Eternals is fucking amazing. Thanos is a part of it right now, and I think Thanos is the main kind of adversary going into the second arc. I think that it's a great book. You should definitely read it. But Shang-Chi is, I'm a martial arts fan too. I love kung fu movies. I probably haven't seen nearly as many as you have. But Bruce Lee, I've been obsessed with Bruce Lee since I was a little kid. Obsessed, wildly obsessed with Bruce Lee. The minute that Criterion Collection came out, I made sure I made sure I bought that shit. And now it goes for money because it's they only make so many, and then good luck to you finding it for But I think that Bruce Lee again was a huge when Shang-Chi was created in the 70s, Bruce Lee heavily influenced that, and they wanted to capitalize on that popularity of that genre, and that's how we got Shang-Chi. I believe Jim Starlin was one of the co-creators of that. You know.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny. He's also, co-creator of Thanos, who's tied in with Eternals. Like Marvel is really mining these properties from the 70s right now. And I think that in terms of like the film, right? And that's influenced the comics, and we're seeing a resurgence of that. I mean, obviously 90s stuff has also been making a comeback, but the 70s period of Marvel comics, whether it's Scarlet Witch and Vision, whether it's Thanos being a major factor, whether it's Guardians of the Galaxy, Shang Chi, all these things that are coming in, Eternals, the Bronze Age is just like making a resurgence, and it's cool to see these characters that I probably wouldn't have given 2 glances at maybe 5 years ago, didn't really care for, neither here nor there. It's just awesome, dude. It's awesome. It's awesome to get a martial arts comic book set in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, because like I'm really excited for it because I love fight scenes. I love fight choreography. Like, and some of the best things about the Marvel movies is the fight choreography and use of camera angles and special effects. But now we get like something that's literally going to be raw fight, like raw. Like, I'm not going to say it's not going to be obviously enhanced, but now it's going to really focus on the martial art aspect of it, and it's just going to be enhanced by the fact that it is a Marvel movie, and there is going to be special effects, and there is going to be like. I hope what this does for Shang Chi, it kind of does what for what it did for Black Panther, and it makes everybody look at these things, look at Asian culture as not as something more than that now, right? And something more grand and more, where before Black Panther, there's an argument that whenever we see a black person, a black film, it's either they're like a powerful black film. It's either they're slaves or they're drug dealers or anything like that, or there's some kind of suffering there, right? Yeah, it's like pain porn, where for black movies, right? But then you get Black Panther, where it's seen in this regal sort of vision, right? And then for Asians, it's like, oh, they're either the bad guys, they're like an invading army, like Chinese invading army, or like a Japanese, But now we get like, or like movie like Great Wall or like The Last Ronin, where it's like they're being saved. There's the great white savior for the Japanese culture, like there's stuff like that. Now we get Shang-Chi, which is dope because it's an all Asian cast. We have Simu Liu, we have Aquafina, we have just like an all Asian cast, and I hope it puts a really like regal sense to like the Asian culture, like the many different Asian cultures. This one's mostly going to be Chinese based, I feel like, but but I really hope it does that, and this comic does that. This comic really executes that. And it's some really freaking cool stuff, dude. I love it. I love it. I'm gonna recommend this and the new series to everybody.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I think that this is, like I said earlier, like flying under the radar. But I think that this should be considered one of Marvel's, best right now. I think it's in terms of it's fucking awesome superhero story, family story, and great action scenes, which to me is like a perfect storm of a great comic. You know what I mean? Like that is what I read comics for. I read certain types of comics for certain reasons, right? Like I read a Marvel comic book because I want that blend. I want that blend of, set in a familiar setting because it's set in the real world. It's not Gotham City, it's not Metropolis, right? It's like New York, San Francisco, all that type of stuff.
London.
London, right. But in terms of like we get the characters underneath. That's what I like. I don't want to just read a superhero title or Marvel or DC where it's just a superhero. Like I want to see the person under the mask or the hero in just regular day stuff, real relationships. And Luen Yang is like I think one of the best writers in the business right now in terms of that type of product. And I can't, like I said, I can't recommend it enough either. I think everybody should pick this up. The trade's out. I think we're halfway through the first arc on the ongoing series. I'm sure Source still have all those. Definitely pick this up before the movie, after the after the movie, because this is post after the movie has already dropped. So, but yeah, I definitely recommend it. It's a great comic.
Yeah, no, I recommend it too. Like I said, this representation is everything, and seeing people on screen and seeing people in pages that look like people you grew up with or look like people you've been familiar with for like most of your childhood, most of your life, like it's a really powerful thing. So I really do believe that people should pick this up. And this is a very relatable comic, for Asian kids. So definitely pick it up.
Cool. All right. Well, that's all I got for today. And if you're not already following us, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Comic Lounge. Dylan at The Dillbot on Instagram. Dillbot is dope on Twitter. Like, follow, subscribe. Hit the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video goes up. Throw your comments down below. Share your thoughts on the book if you've read it or after you read it, and what you thought. And hit the TeePublic link, get some Comic Lounge merch. And on that note, we're out.
Later, buds.